be. All right. Okay. All right. Just quickly double check if that's the just quickly check if that's the right one. Yep, that's the right one. And there we go. Then do the same thing for this. Submit. Then the same thing for my Instagram. Right. Hang on, no. Wait, no. Okay. Save the photos. And don't know. Make that. Oh boy. You know what? This is a lot better. Oh my god. Right. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. There we go. And this is going great. Okay, done. And live now on YouTube. There we go. Story. There we go. Done. Right. Right. Doobie-doo. So yeah, so this basically, to anyone who's watching, this is basically my second year on YouTube on making videos, and yeah, and also I'll be sort of doing some predictions for E3 that'll be happening in the next few days. I think tomorrow, starting from tomorrow onwards, I think till Tuesday of next week, I think. Possibly. So yeah. So one of the things for E3 that I would like to see, just to kind of start off, is a possible Breath of the Wild 2 announcement. I played through all of Breath of the Wild 1, enjoyed that. It's a really good game, and yeah, and I really like to see a sort of announcement for the sequel, possibly a gameplay trailer or a story trailer. Those will be one of the things I would like to see. If it's a gameplay trailer, I would like to see how the second game, or how it would be used, how it will use the gameplay. Like if it's going to be similar to the one in Breath of the Wild, or it's going to be different or the same. I don't know. It'll be quite interesting to see how similar or different the gameplay could be, because I would like to see it could be somewhere in the middle. Like there could be the slow down time, bow and arrow thing that was used in Breath of the Wild, and if it's like if there's going to be something new, why would I like to see that's something new in Breath of the Wild 2? I would. Well, I don't know. I mean, because like I think with Breath of the Wild, the original one, anyway, there was like a lot of cool and interesting gameplay, like techniques and stuff like that. So like, there was this, as I mentioned, the slow time bow and arrow thing, the shield surf, the champion abilities, and a variety of other things. But it would be nice to see some new things, like or maybe the lightning ability thing in Skyward Sword when you were fighting Demise. That would be a cool ability to bring back, but I think they'll be a bit similar to the beams of energy from the Master Sword. Or maybe the Master Sword can only fire light beams, but maybe with other metallic-based weapons, it could be lightning-based attacks. Possibly, maybe. I'm not too sure. Maybe I would like to see something like that happen in the game, or maybe in a sequel. And if we got a story trailer, I'd like to see how Ganondorf became mummified. If you saw the teaser trailer that was released back in 2019, I think, we saw him sort of like mummified, and he has that glowing green hand thingy on his chest, and I'd like to see how he possibly had the hand, or how he came into contact with that, possibly, because that would be something interesting for me to see. Or maybe or maybe with Link and Zelda could possibly research on Gandalf, and they can go through some records, and they see Ganondorf being mentioned, and there's other mentions in like Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, The Wind Waker, and maybe when he was Ganon in like A Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, the original Zelda game. We could see him like him appearing, like Ganon appearing. Yeah, yeah, and I would like to see there's just so many and there's so many possibilities that the game could possibly go towards, because and maybe like for the plot, because like also for the plot when we get to see the game come out and when it's released, I like for the story to have like Ganondorf slowly resurrecting himself. So if you look at some old games or movies or TV shows or whatever that has characters kind of regenerating themselves slowly, I like to see that with Ganondorf, because because I saw a show called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm not too sure how many people have seen it. I think a lot of people have seen it, but I'm not too sure. But for context, so what are we talking about? I'm basically talking about some E3 predictions, mainly on Breath of the Wild 2. So yeah, and so for context, for what I was saying, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I think in part 2, in Battle Tendency, there's an episode, I think quite early on, where Straizo has become a vampire, and he's being blown up by Joseph Joestar, and he slowly starts to come back together. Like all of his blown up parts have slowly coming back together, and yeah. And I would like to see that with Ganondorf, but instead of his his arms and his torso, that sort of thing coming back together, his like skin slowly starts to become less mummified and more like in like Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess or The Wind Waker. I would like to see him like maybe a combination of all three designs from his human appearance in those three games, because I think that's like a really cool concept to me, because Ganondorf could throughout the game, when he's slowly regenerating himself, he could gain more and more power. So let's say at the start of the game, he starts out with the two malice eyes things, and then let's say a quarter through the game, he starts to speak, and then halfway he's able to conjure magic, and then towards the end he's able to speak and able to use like swords and magic and stuff like that. And for the voice, I would one of my dream possible castings for Ganondorf is the guy who voices Dio in JoJo's, because I forgot the name. I think it's Patrick something. I think the first name is Patrick. I can't really exactly remember. I should look it up quickly. But if you've seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or like Fairy Tale, or where he voices Loxus, he's got that sort of intimidating voice, and especially with Dio in JoJo's, his voice is really intimidating, and it feels like it feels like you feel like you're going to meet your maker with Dio, in my opinion. If you've watched parts 1 or 2, parts 1 or 3 of JoJo's. So yeah, there's Patrick Seitz. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but he's the guy who voices Dio. So yeah, and I think it's just the sequel could go in any sort of direction in terms of the story. I highly doubt they would do a sort of sage story, because I feel like that's been used a bit too many times, in my opinion, in a few Zelda games. Like it's been used in Ocarina of Time, A Link Between Worlds, A Link to the Past, The Wind Waker, where it has like those two sages, the Zora and what was the other one? The not the Korok, but the Kokiri, I think. Yeah, and I felt like that plot point has been used a bit too many times, and I would like to see more possibilities. Maybe Ganondorf trying to find the Triforce or something, and he sends like a minion. Maybe Girahim. Maybe Girahim could be resurrected into the Breath of the Wild story. I would like to see that. I would love to see Girahim make a return. Maybe Fi as well, because Fi is like one of the most interesting characters in my opinion, because she's basically the soul of the Master Sword, and the Master Sword has been in many Zelda games like Skyward Sword, Link Between Worlds, Link to the Past, the Wind Waker, many other games, but she has only appeared in one Zelda game, that being Skyward Sword, and she's only been referenced in Breath of the Wild. So it would be cool to see Fi make her full-on appearance, return to Breath of the Wild 2, and possibly make this her final appearance in Breath of the Wild, and maybe Ganondorf as well, possibly, because I feel like that there are so many times that Ganondorf can appear in Zelda games, in my opinion, because if you look at someone like Bowser in the Mario games, I think Bowser, you can't replace Bowser, because Bowser is iconic, and plus the Mario games aren't really timeline focused, unlike the Zelda games, where the Zelda games are in this specific timeline where it starts off with Skyward Sword, then you've got Minish Cap, Four Swords, Ocarina of Time, then you've got the Split, and then you've got the child timeline, the adult timeline, the Fallen Hero timeline, and then you've got Ganondorf and then Ganon in several games. And then I feel like with Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2, I feel like that Ganondorf, this is going to be the Ganondorf's final appearance in the games, and then possibly Nintendo could bring in a new villain or an old villain, depending on how Ganondorf is used within Breath of the Wild 2 and how he might, survive or be sealed again within Breath of the Wild 2. And yeah. And I also heard that in E3, that Sony or something, or God of War 2. I think that God of War 2, I heard that it had been delayed until next year. And I feel like I've heard that Sony said that they weren't going to make an appearance or something. I can't exactly remember. I think I'm just hearing rumors or something that I heard like on Twitter or on Instagram or something. I'm only hearing rumors. But yeah, but it would have been cool to see Sony make some sort of appearance or release some kind of trailer for one of the upcoming games. Maybe God of War Ragnarok, because I really enjoyed God of War Ragnarok. The original God of War that was released back in 2018. Because I only got the PlayStation like a few years ago, back in like 2019, and I played through God of War 2018, and I enjoyed that game. I feel like I think it's an interesting game because it's a sort of a soft reboot of the original trilogy of God of War, so God of War 1, 2, and 3. And I think that with God of War 2018, it's got a lot of interesting, concepts. So like, I really like the Leviathan axe, and because it's basically just you throw it, comes back, kind of like Thor's hammer in the Marvel movies and other Norse mythologies. I think in in Norse mythologies, but it's a sort of interesting way of, I think there's a lot of cool ideas for God of War Ragnarok, because the new God of War games are obviously following the Ragnarok mythology, in which everything just everything, like, is the end of the world. Basically, it's basically an apocalyptic story. Yeah, I'm using that. I think I'm using that word right. And it's just, yeah, I think there are some. I think with God of War Ragnarok, for me personally, I think that there is that Atreus might be captured by Thor, possibly, because at the end, for spoilers for God of War 2018, Thor appears outside of Kratos' house at the end of God of War 2018. Once you've beaten the main game and gone back to your house, you will see Thor appear in a sort of like dream sequence. And yeah, and I think that it will start off with Thor appearing, and he takes either Atreus or both Kratos and Atreus to Asgard, but we don't see Asgard. We only see like bits of Asgard, because we've heard of Asgard in 2018 God of War, but not seen it. So I like to think that we could see some bits of Asgard, so like maybe like the main dining hall area of God of War Ragnarok, and then maybe towards the halfway of the game or towards the end of the game, we then get to see Asgard, like fully, and like we've got like the main palace area. You've got some maybe some combat areas, maybe an area where you can fight sub Asgardians, that sort of thing. And yeah, that'd be sort of cool. And maybe Kratos is sent to Valhalla, because we've been to Helheim in God of War 2018, and maybe we'll go to Valhalla, maybe, possibly. That would be cool to see. We could see Valhalla. I would like to see Valhalla. South American mythology would be great. That would be nice. And I think that because like in God of War 2018, there was a mention to some symbols. I think not God of War symbols. Like, you've got the Greek one, you've got the Egyptian one, you've got the Nordic one, and I think you've got another one as well. But it would be nice to see some different mythologies, like, because right now we've got Nordic mythology. So that being, Thor, Odin, Loki, Balder, the Valkyries, those kinds of guys you see in mythology. So, like, you've got Odin, the almighty all-father god. You've got Thor, god of thunder. You've got Loki, who's, spoilers, Atreus, and stuff like that. And also, I would like to see if Odin makes an appearance in God of War Ragnarok, I would like to see him begin as, like, you see the camera pointing towards a chair or behind the chair, and we get to see Odin's staff thing, and we get to see, like, his staff thing, possibly a raven on his throne, and we get to hear his voice. And this voice could be a deep, menacing, almost Kratos-like voice, but a lot menacinger. I think, is that a word? I'm not too sure. And then we see him ordering Thor to go to Midgard to deal with Kratos and Atreus, and then possibly towards the end of the game, we get to see Odin in his full Asgardian armor with his staff and his, like, millions of ravens on his throne, and that'll be such an interesting thing to see with God of War Ragnarok. Yeah, and it would have been nice. And it would have been nice to see Sony. Like, I would like to see, like, possibly Spider-Man 2. Like the sequel to Spider-Man PS4. And I would like to see some sort of trailer to possibly maybe Norman Osborn is going to his like apartment ensuite area thing. And again, spoilers for the ending of Spider-Man PS4. In the lab that you see in the game, one of the tanks contains Harry, and it's in this sort of like goo thing, which is possibly going to be Venom. And I would like to see, and if there was going to be a trailer, and if Sony was going to announce some games for E3, I would like to see, it would have been cool to see Spider-Man 2, but we get to see the tank destroyed, and it would have been cool to see like the goo sort of like in a sort of like trail, and the more and the closer it gets to like Harry, the thicker it gets, and the more humanoid it becomes, because Venom in the comics is sort of like this goo, and whenever he bonds with a human, it becomes more humanoid, and it takes like attributes from the host it's with. So with Spider-Man, it has his webs, his Spider-Man logo, and his white eyes. And so if there was a trailer for Spider-Man 2, it would have seen, Venom sort of into sort of like trail thing, and it starts off with being like, sort of thin, kind of like water, and then the closer it gets to Harry, the more thicker it gets, and then we see a leg, and then we get to see another leg, and one of the legs is like Harry's, but the other leg is Venom's, and then we hear the word Venom, or something like that, or we are Venom, or something like that. I would like to see that. It would have been cool to see that. And then, yeah, just E3, man. There's so many possibilities that that game, or not the game, that there's so many possibilities of where the of where a lot of the companies can take. Oh, and also possibly from Nintendo, besides Breath of the Wild 2, I like to see a new Smash character, Smash Bros. Ultimate character, because I think it will be a good time to introduce a new character. Maybe someone from Mario, maybe someone from Zelda, because it's recently been Mario's 35th anniversary. And I would like to see someone like Lubber from Galaxy 2, because with Galaxy 2, I feel like that'll be a good game to bring in a character from Mario to be a new fighter for Smash Bros. And if it's someone from Zelda, I would like to see Starvin from Spirit Tracks, or Brian if you're playing the American version. And basically, Starvin is basically this an antagonist who was originally a good guy, but he turned bad because he wanted more power, and he basically has this massive gauntlet on his arm, or I think it's one of his arms, either it's left or right. I can't exactly remember which. It has been a while since I've played Spirit Tracks, and the moves for Starvin, I would like to see him like use his gauntlet as a sort of sword, and also grappling hook, because in the boss battle you have with Starvin, um, you see him use his grappling hook hand, and he can like throw it towards Link or Phantom Zelda, and I would like to see him use like this sort of like as a sort of like I think it's neutral B. It could be like this sort of like power up punch thing, kind of like how Captain Falcon does it, but not like Captain Falcon. And it will be like he'll power up his punch, and then he'll charge across the stage, and whoever he hits it will be sent flying, and it'll do like, let's say, um 20 damage or something. I'm not too sure. That could possibly work. And for his final smash, I like to see Sarfin grab some opponents and then throw them into this sort of like his Colosseum boss room that you see in Spirit Tracks, and he can jump onto one of the platforms and just send out multiple shockwaves, and then he can, for his final move, he can summon like a powerful shockwave blast thing, and the enemies or the opponents will just be sent flying back and possibly KO'd. Possibly, I would like to see that. And for Lubber, I would like to see him sort of making him maybe he could do some kind of shoot star bits, possibly. I would like to see him shoot some star bits. Maybe it's his neutral B. His up B could be similar to Rosalina's, in which Rosalina's up B, I think, is her shooting out of a launch star or sling star. Maybe I would like to see that be his up B. His side B could be some sort of rolling attack, maybe. And for his down B, I would like to see, I don't know what his down B would be. Possibly some kind of, I don't know. Oh, his down B could, just so many possibilities. His down B can be, I'm not too sure. It could be anything. I'll just put his down B as anything. And for his final smash, it'll just be Rosalina's final smash. It'll just be, he just summons a Grand Star, and it will just shoot out multiple stars in every direction, and then just hits every character, or maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it's just so many possibilities that both Lopez and Starfin's move sets could be. And if you're going for a non-Zelda or Mario character, if I had to say the memeable one, I would say Crash, because everyone wants Crash Bandicoot in the game. And that's my memeable one, because a lot of people want Crash Bandicoot in Smash. And obviously his normal B or his natural B will be the spin. His up B could be a sort of I don't know, maybe a dive, or that could be his no, his belly flop would be his down B. His side B could be his kick slide thing, and his up B, I don't know what his up B would be. It's the same with Lubber. With his down B, his down B with Lubber's down B, it could be anything. With Crash's up B, it could be anything. And for his final smash, I would like to see him summoning all of the masks from Crash 4 or something like that, and he just unleashes like a deadly combo on any of the opponents that Crash meets along the stage. And for the stages for Starvin, it could be his boss room. You see in Spirit Tracks in the top of the Tower of Spirits. For Lubber, it could be Starship Mario, where it's basically a starship, but it's Mario's face. And for Crash, it could be his house that you see in some of the games. But it could also be it could be a sort of tour around the different islands from Crash 1, kind of like how Lumio City and Skyloft does it, and how those stages make you go around the different areas of those levels. So with Lumio City, it took you from the bottom of the Lumio's tower to the top of it, to the streets of Lumio City, to the sort of skyline of Lumio City. And with Skyloft, it took you from the goddess statue to the sort of bridge area to a lot of different areas in Skyloft, especially, and even the waterfall area you see in the very top of Skyloft, where you use the claw shot to get up to. And also speaking of Skyward Sword, there was recently the whole controversy around the Zelda and Hollow Offering amiibo that was announced a few months ago, I think. When I think it was when Skyward Sword was, I think it was either a few weeks ago. I think no, Skyward Sword was announced a few months ago, and the amiibo was announced a few months ago. No, not a few months, a few weeks ago. I think it was last month, I think. And the controversy with the amiibo was that the amiibo had you teleport to either the sky, Skyloft, or anywhere you were on the surface, if you were in a temple or in a random part of the surface. And a lot of people said that Nintendo are basically just using a really useful feature, but but using a paywall for it. And I'm kind of 50-50 on the whole amiibo thing, because I like the design, I really enjoy it, but it would have been better if the amiibo had a different function to it. For instance, it could have used a customization for your loftering, maybe. So let's say there was a new island in the sky, and it's like a sort of ranch area, kind of like how Romani Ranch in Ocarina of Time was for your Loftwings. No, not for your Loftwings, for your horses. But for this one, it could have been like, you could leave your Loftwing there, and it could be a place where you could scan the Zelda amiibo in, you get a customization, and it could be like a color for your Loftwing. You could change it like from red to let's say, green, or from blue to red again, or to like brown, or black or white, or any kind of color that you can think of. That could have been a cool customization you could add to your Loftwing. Or maybe you could have like a different hairstyle. I would have liked different hairstyle in for Loftwing. So you could have like the Link hairstyle, you could have a Zelda hairstyle for Loftwing, a Groose one, and any other ones that you could use for your Loftwing. It's just, but instead it's just a teleportation thing, and it would have been better if the Loftwing amiibo was used for customizations instead of teleports. Yeah, it's just there's so many possibilities that the Loftwing amiibo could have gone down. I would have liked it if it was customization instead of teleportation. Yes, there we go. I got the word in for teleportation. Yeah, and I think I really like Skyward Sword. It's my all-time favorite Zelda game, and I'm getting the game. I pre-ordered it I think I pre-ordered it as soon as it was announced. I think a lot of people did, and also I also pre-ordered the Joy-Cons, as well, because again, as soon as they were announced, because they're cool looking, and I think they're really cool Joy-Cons. It's it's a really cool game. I highly suggest if there's any like new Zelda fans who are starting to wanting to play any Zelda games, I would say start off with Skyward Sword HD, because that's coming in like next month. That's releasing next month, and then get either Skyward Sword HD or the Link's Awakening remake. Get one of those games, or get one, then get the other, and then once you've played around with those two games or one of them, I would say play Breath of the Wild. So then you can see you can see how different the two games are. So like if you played Skyward Sword, let's say, then you jump into Breath of the Wild, you can see just how much those games are different gameplay wise, because with Skyward Sword it's all motion based, and you have to like use the motion controls to use certain things like the Loftwing, the sword, the bow and arrow, the claw shots, that sort of thing, and also the bombs. And then with Breath of the Wild, it's a lot more button mashing with like the sword, and then and also it's like there's a lot more cool stuff you can do in Breath of the Wild that you could do in Skyward Sword, because with Skyward Sword, as I said, it's all motion based, but with Breath of the Wild, you can do you can slow down some parts. If you're like from, let's say, a high area, let's say you jump from a high enough edge, you can then slow down and just draw your bow and then just hit up a goblin. And and also you can jump past an enemy, and then you can like hit them a bunch of times to get like a lot of hits in. And then you've got the stasis runes, or not the stasis runes, you've got the runes like stasis, bombs, Cryonis and Magnesis, and the camera, and also the Amiibo rune and the Motorcycle Zero rune. And in my opinion, the best one out of all of them is the stasis one when you get it unlocked, because there are, I think, three things you can upgrade in Breath of the Wild when it comes to your Sheikah Slate, and that's the stasis, remote bombs, and the Sheikah sensor. So with the remote bombs, they have a larger explosion, and the recharge time is less. I think it's cut in half. Then with the remote bombs, no, she said the remote bombs. With the Sheikah sensor, it's you can scan for other things other than shrines, but you can only scan for one thing in the Sheikah sensor plus. So let's say you've got the main Sheikah sensor, which is basically the one for the shrines, but then you've got another one for, let's say, chests or a type of bow or sword or enemy, that sort of thing. And then with stasis, you basically can freeze any object and any enemy for a certain amount of time. And again, like with the remote bombs, they have got a shorter time in terms of cooldown. And the stasis, a really useful ability, is possibly the best one in the entire game, because let's say you're going towards, like, let's say a shrine, and you see a particular enemy, let's say a Lionel, and then let's say you don't want to fight the Lionel at the moment, you can then use stasis to freeze the Lionel in place. Then you can just run past the Lionel, and then you can just run past it and get to the shrine or the tower or a particular chest that might contain, let's say, one of the DLC armors, like let's say Minda's helm, or the Tingle suit, or Majora's mask, or whatever of the DLC armors that are on the game. And yeah, there's like, the status is just so useful. I just use it all the time whenever I can use it, just so I can just get to the particular place, or it helps with any of the certain side quests or stuff like that. Because what I found out that I could do, like didn't know before, was that if you're trying to get every single Korok seed in the game, and there are a lot of them, there's like 900 seeds. There are some that you can use as well. Some of the seeds that are basically tree apple or apple tree seeds, in which there are 3 trees in a row, and one of them has multiple apples in them, and the other ones have 1 apple in them. And I think they're all on the same branch in terms of where some of them are placed. So I think it's a middle one, I think, and for the ones that has multiple arrows, no, not multiple arrows, the one with multiple apples in them, the way in which you can easily dispose of that is if you use stasis, and then on the apple that's on the same level as the other 2 apples on the other 2 trees, use stasis for that one, and then you can use remote bombs to basically knock down the tree and knock down the other apples, and then that's basically it. That's basically easier than how I was doing it, because I was basically using arrows on the apples that weren't on the same level as the other ones, and that was possibly a waste of arrows. So yeah, I just used stasis and then remote bombs, and then that's how you get the seed. And it's a really easy way to get the seeds. But the main seeds, the Korok seeds, are really, really difficult, because there are a lot of them. there are a lot of seeds and a lot of them to find in all of Hyrule, mainly because of where they're located, how you can do them, and how some of them can be difficult depending on which one you do, because there are ones apart from the tree ones, like there's one with rocks, one which is basically a pattern of rocks, which is basically the easiest one because you can just find a rock like a few meters away from the pattern, and then you can just place it down on the pattern with the hole. And there's one with a metallic box, which is basically the same amount of easiness in terms of the rock pattern one. And then there's the picking up a random rock, which is basically easy to possibly hard because you don't know which rocks contain Koroks, and there might be ones that might have frogs or different gems like opals or rubies or ambers or sapphires or whatever. So you will have to look through every single rock and pick every single one up to find the Koroks. And then there are the ones with the water ones, with like lily pads around it in a circle, which is again easy, but you will have to try and dive in at the right time and a correct position to get the seed. And then there's the one in which is basically these sort of stone rock formation, and you have to throw rocks into them to get them. And then there's like the timed ones, the balloon ones, the small acorn ones, which are okay, I guess. They're fine. I find them enjoyable, at least. Yeah, but the Korok seeds are not really the best. I mean, they're okay, I guess. I would like to see them make some kind of appearance in Breath of the Wild 2, maybe half of them, half of the original 900 that were in Breath of the Wild 1, possibly. I'm not too sure. We have to see where that game goes in terms of collectibles and in terms of how long it will be. Because I think it will be because in Breath of the Wild, there was 100+ hours, depending on what you did in terms of playing the game. Because there was, if you did the main story, let's say from as soon as you've done the Great Plateau, or you started the Great Plateau. Let's say from the Great Plateau until you beat Ganon. Let's say from there until then. So at the start of the Great Plateau, it might take like what, an hour to an hour and a half, and then you go to Impa. Then from Impa, you might either go to the Divine Beasts, or might see Pura to upgrade all of your Sheikah stuff, and then from Pura you might go to the Divine Beasts, feed them, and that might take you another I don't know. I think three. I would say 3 to maybe 5 hours. I would say. I'm not 100% sure. My maths could be a bit off, but it could take you about several hours. Like I would say, at the most, a minimum of I would say 6 hours to a maximum of possibly 12 hours. Possibly, I'm not 100% sure. I think my maths is off by a bit. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure about the logistics of how long it would take to beat the main story Breath of the Wild, but I think it's within 6 to 12 hours, in a 6 to 12 hour range, I would say. Not 100% sure. That could just be me estimating It's just a rough estimate for me personally. That's how I would see the main story of Breath of the Wild. And then, yeah, and something like that. And then if you add all of the other stuff, so the shrines, the side quests, the shrine quests, the Korok seeds, you upgrading every single bit of armor. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, you getting every bit of armor, defeating all of the Hinoxes, Stalnoxes, Stone Taluses, the Mordugas, I think that's what they're called, the giant sandworms. That will take you up to that 100+ hour range if you do the main story as well as all the other stuff in the game, because it is a big game, and it's just a game that if you plan on doing everything to 100%, you will take a long time to do it. It's kind of like how it's kind of like how it's with Crash 1, 2, 3, Crash 4 is about time, because with those games, those are very long games if you're trying to go for 100%. So with Crash 1, you had to get the gems and just get to the end of the level. But with some gems, like I think with the color gems, you have to get through every single level that they appear in without dying once. And that can be difficult. Then with Crash 2, you have to collect gems, crystals, and also again color gems. But instead of trying to get to the end of the level without dying once, I think you can find color gems in certain routes. I think I can't exactly remember. Then in Crash 3, it's basically the same as Crash 1. No, not Crash 1. Crash 2, where you basically collect crystals, gems, and other stuff as well, stuff like that. So yeah, I think I'm going to end the stream here. To everyone that's been in it, thanks for joining. And yeah, I'll see you guys in very soon. So yeah, thanks for coming to the stream, guys.